Hello my loves, and welcome back to my channel. Summer is slowly starting to wind down here in upstate New York, and fall seems just around the corner. One of the things that I am super passionate about as a wife and a homemaker is cultivating a beautiful home. But more than that, cultivating a beautiful home within my means, on my budget, on my timeline, and with intention. So that's why I am so excited to share with you today some projects that I have been working on with some beautiful vintage gems that I have thrifted, and to show you how I transform them with some DIYs and style them in my home. The first of which is this beautiful vintage stool that I picked up at the flea market a couple weeks ago for only $7. I debated keeping this raw and keeping this as it was. I decided to stain it with my favorite stain, which is Early American, and I'm so glad I did this because it ended up bringing out so much more of the grain and the veining in the wood than otherwise if I had left it raw. Knowing that I want to keep this in my kitchen, which is a very high traffic zone, I knew that I was going to want to seal this piece as well. As a mom of two little boys, everything that I bring into my home, I have to think of it long term, of the practicality of its purpose. Is this going to hold up to the wear and tear of my daily life? Because I really have wasted so much time and money buying things that really couldn't hold up to my everyday life. And I find, although it takes more time to collect and source vintage pieces, especially for the right price, I find it so much more valuable and satisfying when I find that piece and it's sturdy and have so much more character and are going to last the test of time. And to give this stool some extra protection and durability, I decided to go in once my stain had dried with this polyacrylic water-based sealant. I love the look of raw wood, but it's something that I just cannot deny the importance of sealing vintage pieces, especially when you have little kids around and you want them to last for the long haul. I'm really glad I ended up doing this because it just brought out the color even more, and I know that it's going to protect it from any water or spillage or potential damage that might be caused. And here's a look at the before and the after. Now, my next project is something that was heavily debated. A couple videos ago, I showed in my vintage thrift haul this beautiful sideboard that I picked up for $40 on Facebook Marketplace. I asked in that video whether you guys thought that I should keep this piece as it was, or I shared an idea of possibly painting it. And The response was so overwhelming. So many of you encouraged me to not paint this piece and instead go in with some restore finish and enhance its natural beauty, and that is exactly what I did. I took this Old English restore finish and I wiped down the entire piece. The other thing that I did is I took off all of the hardware and I went in with my favorite rub and buff in Grecian gold. Such a subtle thing, but it really brought this hardware to life. I think that's one of the things that excites me the most about curating vintage pieces, is because something that someone maybe no longer sees the beauty in or no longer values can end up being the thing that brings your space to life, being the thing that sparks creativity in you that you didn't even know was there. I am so glad that I stayed patient and waited for this piece, and I'm even more thankful that I didn't jump right into painting it. Although I know it would end up being beautiful, I love the individuality of each project and each piece, and I am so glad and happy with how this piece turned out. So here's a little look at how it looked before, and here is after. Shelf for $30 from one of my favorite antique sellers. I love it. It is about 15 inches wide and it's super thin and very lightweight, so I'm not really worried at all about putting it on the wall. Here's the top, and then you can see the underside there. This gold shelf was something that I didn't even know that I wanted, but as soon as I saw it, I knew that I needed it for this space. I think it fits in so perfectly with all of the other gold ornate details that I have throughout our home, and I think it just is the perfect complement to this very unique wall. And I would love any of your tips and suggestions on how you would style this. You'll have to let me know what you think in the comments. Now I'm saving the best for last because my final piece and project is this beautiful and unique dresser that I found on Facebook Marketplace for, again, only $40. The woman that I bought this from said that this belonged to her grandmother and it was in her family before she had it. So she thinks roughly that this dresser is around 100 years old, but as you can tell, it definitely has had a lot of damage over the years, so I knew that this was going to be a tricky piece. So I decided to start with stripping the piece to see what I had to work with. Right off the bat, I knew that I wanted to keep some wood elements, so I decided to strip the top, planning to keep that the original surface, but stain it in a color that would complement the sideboard. I also did this with the feet, and I cannot wait for you to see how this turned out. So here's a look at the piece sanded and stripped. And here I am going in again with the Early American by Minwax. And this wood ended up having a bit of a red undertone, which worked perfectly with this cool tones in the Early American and ended up matching almost perfectly with the color of the wood on my sideboard. For painting, and I am so glad that I decided to go with this satin black by Krylon. I picked this up at Lowe's, and the satin finish, this paint looks almost like a dark navy when you pour it, but it goes on so seamlessly and smooth. As I started painting, I immediately knew that I made the right choice because it just made this piece look so much richer. Now for the drawers, I went in first with my paintbrush to get into all the little grooves and crevices, and then I went over with my foam roller. And I'm so glad that I did that too, because it really just gave such a uniform finish. All in all, I ended up doing, I think, a total of 3 coats on the dresser and 4 coats on the drawers, because I knew that those were going to get a lot more wear and tear over time. I also went in with my clear coat sealant on the top for the wood and did a total of 3 coats on that. And And here is a look at the before and after. When I picked up this piece, I knew exactly where I wanted to go in this little space between our dining room and our living room. It's the perfect width and height. It allows me storage to store my kids' coloring books and crayons, markers, and the homeschooling supplies that I know that we will be collecting in the years to come. I'm so thrilled with the evolution of our home with pieces that I adore and love, and I know that are going to last for the long haul. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments, what did you think of these pieces? Which one is your favorite? And how would you style these in your home? I hope that this inspires you, and until next time, I'll see you in my next one.